Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be about CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. The signs that you may need to overcome CPTSD, how we can end up with CPTSD, and different methods you can try to find what works for you to recover from CPTSD. I'm Elizabeth Shaw. Welcome back to all the subscribers and thank you very much for your support. If you are new to the channel, this channel is all about the narcissist personality disorder. If you do find the information on the channel helpful, please do subscribe. So what is CPTSD? This is where the post-traumatic stress disorder becomes more complex, it becomes more complicated. There is more issues that we can struggle with overcoming when we have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So you can have some or a lot of the symptoms of PTSD and also some extra symptoms such as struggling to control our emotions. So with PTSD, you can have symptoms such as nightmares, vivid nightmares. So you're getting that sleep disturbance. You can have those symptoms where the nightmares are bringing back vivid memories. When you've been around a narcissistic person, you can have sleep disturbance because you're ruminating of traumatic experiences that have happened in the past. With PTSD, you can have vivid flashbacks where you can almost be back in that moment where something traumatic happened to you. With complex post-traumatic stress disorder, you can just have a smell or hear a noise like a key in the door, and it causes those symptoms of anxiety and nausea and fear within you. So you don't always get the vivid flashback. The memory of the noise connects a memory to an emotion that you don't always actually see. So it's difficult trying to become aware of your triggers when you're not seeing what event it was that actually triggered that. And with a narcissistic relationship, it can be numerous events over a long period of time. You can struggle with intrusive thoughts. We can become great overthinkers when around a narcissist and after a narcissistic relationship. Or their gaslighting, I'll have the video up here, causes cognitive dissonance within our minds. I'll also add that video up here. When we are living in 2 or 3 different realities, with a narcissist, people do say they wear a mask. They tend to have 2 different faces, and we live both those realities. There is their attention, their admiration seeking face when they are going through the love bombing, when they are going through those intermittent reinforcements, when they are idolizing the future with you, future faking, when they are mirroring you, when they are selling you your dreams to deliver you a nightmare, when their rivalry face strikes out. Their admiration seeking face is from that arrogance, that sense of entitlement and that belief that they are special, which comes across as confidence. And while they're getting the adoration, attention and support that they believe they're entitled to, they will shower this back to other people. It is really who they are, but it's also an illusion, as it is their manipulation. It's not who they actually are. When they are mirroring us, they are selling us our dreams, not their passions. They don't say in the beginning, oh no, I'm not really keen on marriage, or oh yes, I would like to get married. They say what you would like and sell that back to you. we live that reality with them when it is so good. So when their rivalry face comes out, as a narcissist does seem that black and white, so it's either all good or all bad, and we are human. We make errors in judgment, we make mistakes along the way. Narcissistic people cannot admit to their own mistakes and do not like other people making mistakes. Or when they are envious of someone else, they tend to see qualities in people that they like, and they latch on to those qualities because they are envious of that person. When they realise they can't match that person like for like, they have to devalue and pull that person down to feel better about themselves. So that's when they are criticising who you are as a person, judging who you are as a person. And it leads you into living those two completely different realities with the same person, who's then gaslighting you by saying that never happened, or if only you'd have done this. Because we have the empathy to care about them, because we have that willingness to communicate with them, because we formed that emotional bond with them, we want to see their perspectives and we want to understand their point of view. We also take on board their opinions, and it becomes a very confusing place to be, where we can then end up with a lot of intrusive thoughts. We can end up overthinking different scenarios, what we could have done differently, what we could do better next time, and then walking on eggshells around the narcissist for fear of making a mistake, for fear of making an error that might set them off. When you're living in an environment where someone can rage at you for no apparent reason, it's going to get you overthinking. It's going to cause that fear within you, which is another symptom of PTSD. You can have those physical panic attacks, you can have pain, you can have nausea, you can be sweating. Your body has gone into the natural defense mechanism of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Most of the time, our bodies will naturally take flight. When we're led into believing one illusion to be sold another illusion, not knowing which one's actually accurate, and being gaslighted into believing we're crazy because we're often then sleep deprived from all the ruminating with all the sleep disturbances that a narcissist may or may not cause directly or indirectly. We are anxious, we become stressed, we become overwhelmed. We don't always fight back. We might fight back in the beginning, and then if you do fight back, you've got that reactive abuse, which the narcissist then blames on you. We don't take flight because we don't understand what's actually happening, and we're led to believe that we are the ones going crazy. We can then freeze and not know what to do for the best, stay in the situation we are in, not realising that situation is causing the issues we are now suffering from. They are the symptoms of the emotional manipulation and abuse we are receiving from the narcissist. We can then fawn to the narcissist's behaviour for fear of reactions from them if we don't. If something triggers a past memory, we can panic, and we will have most likely panicked within that relationship. We can live in a state of hypervigilance, always on edge, and when you've lived in a situation where you're not sure whether you're going to get sunshine and laughter or the incredible sulk, you end up walking around on edge. When you ask them a simple question and it turns into an almighty argument, and to you it might have just been sorting out some household bills or arranging to go out at the weekend, and it can cause so many arguments and so many passive aggressive behaviours, guilt trips from a narcissist, that we tiptoe around them, not sure what is best to do around that person for our own safety as well. which another sign of PTSD is being jumpy and easily startled. Now, when you know that if a narcissist is going to come home and slam the door, that they are not going to be in a great frame of mind, and they might swipe their dinner on the floor because it's not being made how they want it to be made, even though the dinner's perfect. And yesterday it was fine like that, or last week it was fine like that, but today it's not, because they're in a bad mood over something else. You're going to become jumpy and easily startled. When you're living in fear, constantly over questioning yourself, not getting the right amount of sleep, trying to do the best by those who are actually sinking you, it becomes increasingly difficult to concentrate on day-to-day tasks, which is also a sign of CPTSD. When it becomes difficult to concentrate on tasks, we make more mistakes, which a narcissist will pick us apart about. And after the relationship, these symptoms can stay with us unless we actually work on them. With complex PTSD, we can become overly emotional, and in the dynamics of a narcissistic relationship, they are going to bait you into a situation, or they are going to set the environment, they are going to set that atmosphere to kickstart those emotions in you, and then they'll sit back and tell you that you're being too sensitive, you're being too emotional, you're overreacting. So you begin ruminating and questioning who you are as a person. The more this happens, the more emotional you become. Being around a narcissist does actually cause some form of brain damage. It shrinks our hippocampus, which houses our memories, so it's difficult to concentrate and difficult to remember things. And when you've got a narcissist gaslighting you, your memories are going because your hippocampus is shrinking. It can also grow your amygdala, which houses your emotions such as fear. So because that part of the brain has grown in size, you are going to become more emotional than usual. Feeling hostile. When you're in a hostile environment, it can rub off on you, and we can also go into that fight mode, so we can feel hostile towards people. And once out of that environment, once we escape the situation we were once trapped in, we can start to, the fog begins to clear. They fear, the obligation and the guilt that they train into our subconscious begins to clear. And in order to protect ourselves, we can feel hostile to other people. If they say the wrong thing, we might react badly from a past memory being triggered, even if we don't recognise what that past memory was. Feeling overwhelmed and feeling worthless. A narcissist is very well trained at putting people down and making people feel worthless. One of their whole game plans is to get you, and the way they get you is by raising themselves up and pulling you down. They are going to invalidate you any way they can to feel better about themselves. So we begin feeling worthless and developing CPTSD. Feelings of emptiness. When you've been neglected emotionally, physically, financially, when you've been ignored, when you've had all your weaknesses used against you at each and every turn, when you've been invalidated, when you've been told that you are not good enough, you are incapable, you are not worthy, you are not capable, they can do it better than you, you begin to feel empty inside. When the person who claimed to love you, and you lived that reality when they did love you, or if it was your parents, you might have been neglected throughout your entire life. Humans need communication, they need understanding, and when you never get that understanding from other people, we begin to feel empty inside. And yes, as much as we need to only value our own opinion, especially when those opinions of others are to tear us down, we do need that communication with other people and that validation on some level. It's about gaining opinions from people who actually care for you. If someone is offering you constructive criticism, and it's difficult to recognise constructive criticism when you've had negative, toxic criticism throughout your life, which can make you react badly and feel hostile towards people, even if they are offering constructive criticism, because you've been put down throughout your life over a prolonged period of time. Avoiding making friendships or relationships, finding it difficult to maintain friendships or relationships. When you have had your trust used against you, it becomes increasingly difficult to then start trusting in people. When someone has taken all your vulnerabilities, all your weaknesses and all your insecurities and used them to poke holes at you, it becomes very difficult to then open up to other people. And we need to accept our vulnerabilities and our weaknesses within ourselves. We all have them, we all make mistakes. We have to be able to accept them within ourselves so that other people can no longer tear us down over them, because those people who are tearing us down over them haven't accepted them within themselves. And yes, there is people that will have suffered trauma and they do not go around destroying other people. They either end up isolating themselves from people, or they end up trying to help other people. There is no excuse to tear other people down. We all have our own issues that we have to work on individually and find what works for us. To cope, you may develop things like OCD. You might try to keep busy, and there's a few sides to why you might try to keep busy. When you've constantly been told that you're not good enough, you might constantly be trying to work harder so that you can achieve something to feel good enough. And yes, narcissistic people can do this too, but theirs is usually to exploit other people. Yours is usually to help or get that recognition. There is different ways of getting recognition. One is by being kind and helpful, but you must be kind and helpful to yourself first. And the other is by tearing other people down. And it is quite tricky, because when it comes to wanting to feel worthy and wanting to feel good enough, we do have to give to other people in order to get that sense of self-worth. Self-worth does come within, but if we are exploiting other people, we're never going to feel worthy, which is where a narcissist is coming from. So we do have to step out of our comfort zone and try to help other people to gain that level of self-worth. The tricky bit is, it is far, far harder, especially when you are struggling with things like CPTSD, anxiety and depression. It is far harder to step out of your comfort zone and build something positive up. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes worth ethics, it takes drive, it takes determination. And along the way, you are going to have people that want to invalidate you, crush you, bring you down, pull you down. And it is a lot harder to achieve that way, but it's also a lot more satisfying. With a narcissist, they've realised that it's easier just to tear everyone straight back down, and it's far quicker to feel better within themselves. But what they don't realise is it's only a moment's release, so they have to go again and again and again. And while they're tearing other people down, they're often then feeling worse and worse and worse about themselves, and it's a lot harder to dig themselves out of that, especially when they don't even recognise their own behaviour and they lack the empathy. When you have empathy to care for other people, you're not going to go around trying to destroy other people. Because you're feeling numb, you might start isolating yourself from people, which a narcissist does a cracking job of isolating people from support anyway. we can also end up isolating ourselves from other people. We can find it very difficult to express ourselves, because when you've expressed yourself time and time again, you've been criticised for it, belittled for it, laughed at for it, becomes increasingly difficult to open up and express yourself to people. When you might ask someone a question and they rage at you over seemingly nothing, it becomes hard to speak out for who you are as a person. Blaming yourself, as you can recognise your own behaviour, you can recognise that you make mistakes, it's a part of life, you have the empathy to care for other people. When it comes to your mistakes, with good intentions, there is no wrong way or right way to live your life, because you can recognise your mistakes, you can recognise mistakes in others and often forgive others for their mistakes against you. So when it comes to other people who are then projecting their mistakes onto you, gaslighting their mistakes into you, projecting their mistakes into you, blaming you for everything, because you are reflecting and questioning and trying to work it out, you can often take the blame for things that you haven't even done. And a narcissist will be guilt tripping you at every single turn, so that you feel obligated to make it up to them for things that you haven't even done. You can become overwhelmed with sadness, with guilt, with anger, with resentment, and especially when you realise that the person you believed cared for you and who you cared for them, or parents that parents should care and love and nurture their own child and they neglected you. You can harbour some anger and resentment. They are normal emotions when somebody has taken advantage of you. It's how we process these emotions. Forgiveness is for the individual, whether that's forgiveness of the other person, forgiveness of yourself, but forgiveness is for the individual person. Forgiveness is to let go of that anger. If that anger is holding you back in moving forward within your life, you have to find a way to release it. You have to find a way that suits who you are as a person. We can often forgive a narcissist within the relationship, then once out it can become quite difficult. Remember, forgiveness isn't to excuse their behaviour or forgive their behaviour. Justice, I'm all for justice, and justice should be served. Sometimes it's not down to us to serve that justice. With a narcissist, the majority of them do fear abandonment. So in one way, justice is served when you cut off their supply. I'll add the supply video up here. When you cut off their oxygen, when you no longer give them any attention, any reactions, anything to go on. And yes, when you step away from their games, they can up their games. A narcissist is all about got you, got you, got you. When they can no longer get you, is often how you get your revenge, when you go and live your best life, because that is something they cannot do. They are envious. And this is often why you also catch-22. This is often why it's not always wise to let a narcissist know that you are now living your best life, because this is when they can start on the smear campaigns. With narcissistic people, I know it's not always possible. It is on a spectrum, so there are those that you can manage yourself around once you have an understanding of the disorder, but there are those when you just need to go no contact and up and run and no longer ever have anything to do with them. There are lots of causes to PTSD. There are lots of causes to CPTSD. This channel is about narcissistic abuse and long-term domestic violence, long-term neglect, experiencing repeated trauma, childhood neglect, childhood abandonment, being a child of narcissistic parents, being a child of some form of abuse can cause symptoms of CPTSD that we have to find a method to overcome those symptoms for us. The longer we hold on to those symptoms, the longer we hold on to the pain, the longer we hold on to the anger, the longer we hold on to the resentment, the longer that person who caused those symptoms within us has a hold over our life. So we must find a reason to make it a must, to find the method that works for us to let these go. Depends on what you've been through, your individual situation, who you are as a person. Talk therapy can help. It can also not help. You have to find the right therapist for you. If it's not going to help for you, don't push it. You can try, but if you feel like listen to your instincts. So talk therapy can help, and you might find that some therapists, where they've been trained, they have been taught not to go over the past too much. So where you feel like you need to talk about the past, they're telling you to focus on the future, which isn't helpful. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with that method. It's just not the method for you. So finding the therapist that you can talk to. Sometimes we do have to go over and over and over it, because every time we go over it, a different light bulb hits. Often why people can watch YouTube videos and read blogs over and over again about narcissistic abuse, because it's giving you that understanding, that clarity of what's happened. It's giving you those light bulb moments, so you can recognize something that's happened to you and it's not normal. Abuse is abuse. There is no excuse. There is no normalizing treating somebody that way. It is wrong. The experience you've been through personally, you can normalize it in a sense of, although you'd prefer to be alone, you don't really want anyone else, you can gain that understanding. It's gaining that understanding when you can see that other people have been through the similar situations and understand exactly what you've been through, the things, the crazy making things that have been said to you. People understand how you feel, which is what you thought you were getting in the beginning of a relationship with a narcissist, understanding, and you don't, you get misunderstanding. So we can come to communities because we get that validation, we get that understanding that we are not alone, that we have lived this experience that once seemingly was so unbelievable, yet it actually happened. Talk therapy can help. Listening to things can help, getting those light bulb moments so that we can recognize those triggers and find a method to no longer allow those triggers to impact our daily life. And yes, things take time, they take work, but we can get there. EMDR treatment is also very good, because that can get to the memories that you aren't always conscious of, and a narcissist is very good at reprogramming our subconscious to work for them so that they can control us. So EMDR treatment is also one to try. Essential oils is good for things like the brain damage that it can cause within us. Time and distance away from them so that our brain can start to clear the fog and the gaslighting and all the toxic trash back out and start finding who we are again. Looking after yourself, and it can be very tricky as we've been trained to look after them and not ourselves, and we can feel guilt, or we can feel like we're becoming too entitled because we're taking care of ourselves. The aeroplane example, you are asked to put the oxygen mask on yourself so that you can be at your best to help others. If you were to put it on a young child that can't help you and you struggle, that child needs you they need you. So if you then struggle, you need to put it on yourself first and then put it on the child. A bit like if you are on the airplane with a narcissist, if you put it on a narcissist first, they're going to up and run, and they'll probably take your oxygen with them to help them save themselves. Whereas if you put it on yourself first and then help those around you, they tell you to do this, to try and program your subconscious to do this, because they know that those people with empathy are going to try and help their loved ones first. You have to be at your best to be able to give your best. This isn't to exploit people. It's not to be self-entitled. It's so that you can give the best of you to those you love and care for. So self-care is an absolute must, whatever that self-care is to you. Keeping a diary can help some people, especially if you're still being gaslighted, so that you can recognise your truth, your reality versus their gaslighting words. New activities can help: reading, writing, painting, a new sport, playing a musical instrument. Music can be very helpful also. Trying to get into team sports or a team reading group so that you can start to feel like you belong to something again and no longer feel so isolated and alone. Often why narcissistic abuse communities can work well, although when you've got people that are coming in with CPTSD, they can react negatively. That's why it is essential that sometimes we just take a step back. Connecting with other people and connecting the right people. So learning your values, your beliefs and your boundaries, so that you no longer connect with those that want to take advantage of your caring nature. Connecting with other people is part of our human needs. I think it was Tony Robbins that discovered the 6 human needs. You don't really want uncertainty, because you've most likely are or have been through a lot of uncertainty. Excuse me. So trying to create certainty in your life, creating those new routines can start to create that certainty for you. Growth. We are all about growing, learning and developing. Everything in life is about growth and development. So learning a new skill can help you. Variety, getting that variety. So trying your hand at different things. Often the thing that you like to talk about the most is the thing that you will be most passionate about. Narcissistic people like to use the word obsession, whereas and they're obsessed at getting better than everybody else. You can be passionate about something, and when you've got that passion, you've usually got that drive and determination to go for it, no matter how many people want to try and knock you down, because they're obsessed with bringing you down. And contribution, contributing to other people, to the right people. Contribution makes us feel good. It makes us feel like we're helping other people. Yes, we like to contribute, which is often why we contribute a little bit too much of ourselves to narcissistic people who like to bring us down. So contributing to the right people, learning to overcome things like guilt. The whole situation of narcissistic abuse is very complex, and most of the things that you suffer afterwards are symptoms that you have been emotionally abused. So working through the root cause and removing the root cause can then help recover from those symptoms. Things like getting enough rest, it's easy to say make sure you get enough sleep. It's not that easy when you're in or fresh out of a narcissistic relationship, and for some it can be a year or two after. It's not that simple. So it's trying to work on different things, different approaches, until you find what helps you to help you get that rest at night, whether that's going to bed early, getting up early, whether that's going to bed late, getting up late if it fits into your day-to-day routine, if that's having a bath before you go to sleep, that wakes some people up. So listening to music might help some people, not others, and keep practicing different methods, and don't give in after 1 or 2 nights. Give it a bit of time to see if it works, and keep trying to find it until you find what will work for you. If anyone has any advice on what's helped them manage or overcome CPTSD, please do add it into the comments, because this is one of the main things that we do have to overcome to move on to a much happier life. It's not always easy, it's not always straightforward. Remember, if you've been around narcissists, there will have been times in your past that you will have thought there is no way you would have got through them, and you got through them because you're here now listening to this video. If you got through those, you can get through whatever you are going through now. Go out there, create the day that you deserve. When you get a setback, recognize it as a setback. Doesn't matter, we all have setbacks. You might have taken 3 steps forward to take 1 step back. Sometimes we have to stop and look at how far we've come, not at how far we've got to go. I'm not taking on new one-to-one clients at the moment, so I have partnered up with BetterHelp, which is a sponsored link. If you are needing therapy, then please take a look at BetterHelp. They will match you with someone suitable for your requirements. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.